You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. You are watching In the Name of Love. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm thrilled to be here today. This is our 506th show that we've been streaming since August of last year. I totally missed number 500, so now that I saw today it was 505 for this, I thought I have to mention it's 506. Our show is In the Name of Love, and we have a guest who's scheduled today. She's not backstage yet, so I'm going to bring out our lovely dynamic star of our show, Kimmy Seltzer, and we are going to have a chat about love. Kimmy, welcome.
Hey, welcome. Congrats on all your episodes. That's amazing.
It goes by so fast. Thank you.
Right?
It really does. It's amazing. But as you know, there's a ton of work that goes into it, and there's a lot of joy. And I get to meet a lot of really interesting people and hear their stories. So I'm very grateful for all of that.
Yeah. Well, and I know everyone's grateful for you to dedicate all this time and all the episodes. It takes a lot of work. But like you said, and I think this is partly what we can talk about today. It's like what you put out is what you get back. And sometimes if we're just outputting too much, that can create like a lopsided type of relationship, or if you're taking too much. So like, how do we have that reciprocity between what we give and what we take, and how that can create more balance, both in relationships and in life, always.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive into it. But Kimmy, I want to spotlight you. You've accomplished so much. And the fact that you even have time for this show is amazing, because you have a full schedule and you're out there helping people all the time. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing today and how we can support you.
Well, yes. And as always, I always have like different things going on. I think for those of you who don't know me, I am a dating strategist, a confidence therapist, and an image expert. What does all that mean? It means that I have a holistic approach in helping you all look and feel your best so that you attract whatever it is you want. And I do have a different kind of philosophy. I work from the outside in rather than the inside out, because I believe that when you work on your marketing, your body language, your style, all of the things that, kind of sends messages out into the world, that definitely correlates, and it's the quickest gateway into your inner confidence as well. So I have all different kinds of programs, from virtual makeovers to now like real life ones, if you're able to do that. And along those lines, I'm actually heading to New York very, very soon, and I'm going to be doing a flirt happy hour September 8th. So if you are a woman and you are in the New York City area, definitely contact me. Go to askkimmy.com, askkimmy.com, and say you're interested, and I'll get you the details. But it's going to be fun. I'm going to go over some wing gal techniques and do like some hot seat coaching, and we'll have some drinks and appetizers and a lot of fun, because I really believe that it's about taking action that creates the results. So many of my services is all about that. So hope to see some of you there.
Fantastic. I love New York. I wish I could join you there, because it's been so long and it's such a great city and so much to do. So I hope you have a fabulous time, and I hope some of our viewers and listeners do join you there.
Yeah, me too. And it's interesting because I have clients all over the world, and everybody thinks their town is the hardest to date in. That's what's really funny. It's like, and no matter where, and I've surveyed people and I've done shows in different areas of the country and the world. And everyone's like, oh, if I only lived in this area, maybe my dating life would be different. And, there are different nuances with the different cities. I mean, New York is definitely different than LA for sure. But the truth is there's somebody for everybody in every city. It's just a matter of how you navigate that and really put intention and focus around it.
Good points. Good points. And something I'll share with you, which I might have said before, but I'm on an island. And what I've happened to notice is when I go for my walks, there's a lot of really attractive people here, very beautiful men and women. And I think to myself, how do they like, where do they all come from? And, how would it be to date somebody or meet somebody here when everybody's so beautiful? So in New York, obviously, I mean, before the pandemic, I don't know how it is now out in LA, you have people who are celebrities, models, actresses, a lot of creatives who are on the stage and used to performing. And people might think, oh, it's impossible to meet anybody there. So how do you coach someone when they start looking outside at how everybody else looks as opposed to maybe looking inside and looking at themselves?
That is one of the biggest problems, especially when there's a lot of distraction, right? And it all has to do with, kind of pulling in and looking at yourself and what you can do differently. Because here's the truth. You can't change other people. You can't change like your environment unless you're able to. And obviously like that has happened as well. But it's more, and to me, this is the empowerment. It's more about what can you do to get a different result. And I find that a lot of times when people are focused outside themselves and they're getting distracted, and I will say social media has been a big culprit of this. I mean, we're all kind of voyeurs, right? Looking and comparing ourselves to others. And I think that outside validation and where people are looking for that has increased over the years, but it usually is exacerbated when you're not happy within. So if you're constantly looking at other solutions, other people as the reason why you can't find love, that could be a blind spot for you. What if you actually looked at yourself? Do you know that I actually put people on social media fasts just for this very reason, so that they don't get distracted around them and really pull in. And I'm like, it's time for you to get a little selfish and just focus on you. Because again, when you love you, that's when other people do too. I mean, every single time. This is kind of what I preach and I teach. So yeah, like when there's a lot of distraction and you're comparing yourself, it's more about, well, what's going on with you, that your focus is elsewhere and not of yourself.
Great points, Kimmy. Great points. Something that you brought to light that I wanted to interject is I have a spin bike and I will ride my bike. I used to ride it every day, but now I'm trying to get outside more. And I have a guilty pleasure that I will put on the television. I'm not a big television person, but I watch, here, are you ready? Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Okay.
Oh, yes.
So and apparently they filmed this season last year towards the end of the year. Maybe it came into the beginning of this year. I don't know. But I look at it and every one of them is absolutely gorgeous and flawless. And the skin is perfect and the clothes. And yet they're arguing back and forth. And I found myself riding the bike and it was actually pedaling faster because I think I was getting more and more like, I had this combination of things going. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm sure other people go through this too. We see something on television and all of a sudden it's like, well, what's wrong with me? Well, what's wrong? I need this, or my face is this. And meanwhile, they're all arguing with each other, whether they're getting paid to do it or not, because I'm sure they get paid. I think I read 500,000 one of them gets per episode. So my point is, I love what you're saying about social media and taking a break from that. And then we can't compare ourselves to these people who they have all of the assets that in the world that they can do whatever they want to themselves. And then you have to look at the other perspective, which is why aren't they happy the way that they would be without all of the enhancements?
Oh, yes. And I deal with that on both ends of the spectrum, ones that are not feeling good about themselves and they want to feel more beautiful. And then I have people who have been relying on the outside who feel empty on the inside, right? Like, so it's a matter of everybody's journey. I want to share actually a funny story around that. There was a guy that I was coaching. And, I do these wing girl sessions where I go out in the field and I help people flirt. And I was trying to figure out and find out from him who he found sexy. Okay. And I said the word sexy, not attractive or beautiful, but just sexy. And he saw this girl who was walking down the street. She was drop dead gorgeous, to the point of like what you're just describing Dr. Jacalyn, like just, there was no way that someone could look at this woman and say she wasn't attractive, right? But she looked really uncomfortable. Her body language was stiff. She looked anxious. She didn't smile at him when she passed by. So she was really, really in her head. You could just see it as she was walking. I said, so do you think this woman is sexy? And he's like, honestly, no. I mean, she's beautiful, but I would never approach her. It's not the kind of woman that I'm looking for. I said, interesting. So then 2 minutes later, another woman goes by. She's a little bit shorter, heavier set, but boy, was she working it, right? Like she just had it going on. She was moving in her body. Just like you could just see she was loving life. And as she passed him, she gave a little wink and a smile. I said, so do you think that woman is sexy? And he's like, oh, yeah. I said, oh, wow. Well, so what was the difference? He's like, well, that woman that we just saw, she was comfortable in her skin, and that is super attractive and sexy. So I tell you that story along like the lines of what you just said, is that it is a comfort within ourselves that's the most attractive, right? And then from there, it's how we advertise ourselves and we exude that, right? So you can be comfortable with them, but then maybe you're not advertising that. It's congruency, right? It's both the outside and the inside. And I think sometimes the focus is a little more heavy on one or the other, but not both. And that's why I believe both is super important.
Really good point. So it sounds to me like what you're saying is, let's say you are someone who is concerned with their outside image, but you want to spend money to put whatever on your body or whatever on your face, but you have to still have that confidence and that self-love inside. Otherwise, you're just like a shell, a beautiful outside shell with the inside is lonely and empty.
It's so true. Actually, the woman that I'm working with now, and she admits this. I mean, she's gorgeous, but her whole life she's been reinforced by how she looks, not of who she is. And that had to do with like messaging growing up and also just, how she looked and her culture as well. And so she's learning, she's like, Kimmy, I never learned like social skills. I never learned how to express who I am, what I want. In fact, she's at the point where she doesn't even know who she is beyond how she looks. And so, yeah, like in that instance, it's really like understanding who she is and knowing that she is so valuable and there's so much more beyond what she just shows on the outside. So it's so important. And again, all these things show up differently for everybody.
Yes, very true. I thought of a story myself that it was on one of those nighttime news shows, and it was this woman who she's married and she has her makeup on 24/7. So even though she's married, she gets up, she goes to sleep with the makeup on while the husband's still sleeping. She goes into the bathroom, showers, puts the whole makeup on again, and he's never seen her without her makeup. And I remember when I watched that show thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like how much work is it for you not to like yourself? That you can't sleep, you can't be authentic. And there's an expression, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. And so what I think is kind of cool is, right now I have my eyelashes on. Tomorrow, tomorrow I will go to hot yoga, have no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no makeup on, and I really don't care. So I think that you have to be able to be comfortable with yourself just as you are. And then whatever enhancements you have, that's sort of a nice little bonus, but it's not skin deep, so to speak.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. There's people though, like on the other spectrum, and this is where I work with people and doing makeovers and, helping them with their wardrobe and their profiles and all that, where then there's these beautiful people who don't even see how beautiful they are. Right. So it's not, they then see their value as more, well, I'm the smart one, or I'm the one who just provides things for people. I'm not sexy. I'm not beautiful. And so they identify themselves in a different manner. And so with those women and men that I work with, I love like getting them the false eyelashes and the pink, like how you have on, and just having, just a different way of seeing themselves. I mean, that was part of my journey, and most people who know me know my story of my red dress moment. Like, going from a frumpy mom wearing nursing bras to a red dress, there was this instant thing that happened with my confidence, and it's not superficial. And that's the thing. Like, you can use the outside as a mask, right? Or you can use it to enhance. And I think that's the biggest difference. And I think it all boils down to just being happy within.
And Kimmy, with the work you do with with your clients, it sounds like you're able to help people really become aware of who they are and also what they're projecting to the world. So if somebody might see themselves as the studious one or the creative one, but you, through your coaching, you let them see the full, complete package of who they are. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I love playing with the clothes and doing the therapy and doing the coaching, because I don't think it's just one thing that helps people, right? Like, I think it really takes a village. It takes different modalities and experiences to get you a different result, basically. Yeah, like, I'll never forget this woman. She actually was from Australia. She flew in to do a whole makeover.
Wow.
And she had that mantra of, well, I have two beautiful sisters, but I'm the ugly duckling. I'm the smart one. And that was her role. Like, she carried that out, and she dressed like that too. Like, she would go around with kind of these frumpy sweaters and eyeglasses that weren't looking great on her, and just hiding because she didn't think she could be like her sisters. It was almost phenomenal for me to see that, because like, when you look at her, and I think she's still on my site. If you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com, she's one of my before and afters. But people would be floored to know that woman didn't see that in herself, because she was gorgeous, just drop dead gorgeous, but she just wasn't serving herself, and she wasn't marketing herself in a way so that people could see that side of her. And so again, it's all self-induced, and that's the beauty of starting on the outside, literally, because when people look in the mirror and they see themselves differently, there's something that shifts. Like, all of a sudden they stand taller. All of a sudden there's a little skip in the step. They act differently. And there's a lot of research done on this. I mean, image matters. This isn't superficial. This is something that really can make a difference in the way you feel about yourself, and then how others perceive you.
So true. I actually put these false eyelashes on this morning, and I've got maybe 6 or 7 different types, and I don't wear them very often because it does take work, to get them on. I put them on and I thought, wow, I feel pretty good about myself after I have them on.
It does. It matters. Actually, they did some studies in the brain, and they found that the brain shifts when you wear different things. They coined the term enclothed cognition, that when you wear different clothes, it can make you perform differently. And they actually saw on the camera that the brain had like different chemistry when people wore different things. So that's why Halloween is so fascinating to me. When you see these like shy girls and they're wearing these like vixen cat suits, and all of a sudden they're becoming like these extroverts, out of nowhere. When you have a costume on, and that's why I call dating outfits dating costumes often, because it puts people in that energy.
What's your favorite Halloween costume that you may have worn or never have worn?
That I may have worn or never worn? I did have a sexy nurse outfit at one point, which I thought was kind of like an odd thing, why that's like a sexy costume, right? Like, that's one of those pre-made ones that you can buy. That was kind of fun. But I've done everything from like wearing those kind of sexy outfits also to just like funny ones, things that like make people laugh, whether it's like a joke of the year or that kind of thing. Actually, oh God, I miss Halloween. I hope we have Halloween.
I know. I hope we do too. I actually have a friend out in California, and I was there for my birthday in March one year, and we went to this store where they sold costumes, but they weren't for Halloween.
That kind of store.
And she ended up getting this nurse costume
Oh.
with the thigh-high black leather, patent leather boots. She actually bought it, and she said she loved it. But I always wanted to dress up as I Dream of Jeannie, but I never have.
Why haven't you?
I don't have the costume. I don't know. I was Cleopatra with my midriff showing and the pants,
Totally see that.
with a black wig, by the way. So it was a lot of fun.
We're gonna come up with a Dream of Jeannie, and like come October, God willing, when we have a show around Halloween, we're putting that on for you.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm gonna hold you to it.
I definitely will. And it's interesting. Barbara Eden played I Dream of Jeannie for so many years, and I just read, I think it was yesterday, the day before, she was interviewed. She's 90, and
really,
yes, and she's still going strong. It's unbelievable.
I can't believe she's 90. Oh my gosh.
I know. I thought I must have misread it. I thought she can't really be 90. But anyway, that's what I took away from it. So something I want to share with you, which I shared a little bit backstage, but I think it's interesting. I had a voice lesson yesterday. And so I've never had voice lessons before. And I met with one of our former guests from, I think, last week. And anyway, it ended up being an incredible coaching session that I couldn't have even imagined. I thought she wanted me to pick a song to sing, and the song I picked was Frank Sinatra, Come Fly With Me.
Oh, yeah.
And so I thought I would just be singing that, and she would say, no, yes, do this, do that. But it wasn't that at all. I had to focus on my breathing. And anyway, what she shared, and I want you to comment as a therapist on this, I think it's kind of cool, is that I exude a lot of masculine energy because I'm so used to running this business, doing everything by myself. I've got to get it done, take care of my mother, go work out. I started at 75 hard. My colitis came back. I'm like, what am I doing? Anyway, she said, you need to get in touch with your feminine side. And I thought, I remember now over the years that men have said, men I actually dated, they're like, you're so hard. Where's that soft, sweet Jackie that I met? And so I put on the eyelashes and I put on the pink, and I actually feel different. So what are your thoughts about that male and female energy? I had never heard that before.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. And it's a big part of like my business and what I teach women, especially because remember I was saying that I had that Get Your Sexy Back class, and actually we're having our last class today, and I'll probably be offering it again in the fall. And one of the things is, I would say 99% of the women who are in there are like just badass people in business. They're running their love life like a business as well, and there is a lot of masculine energy, which is why a lot of time just relinquishing that and being in the kind of receiving mode, the softer mode, the feminine mode is really challenging, especially when you're producing, taking care of all these people. When you're doing business, everybody's in their masculine. I mean, you have to be to get things done. And like productivity is usually in a masculine energy. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I work on with women. And that's why I start with the dating costume. Because to your point, like, you are actually acting a little bit different too. I'm not going to lie.
I am?
Yeah, you're a little more girly today. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way you look, but you're more giggly and a little softer. And yeah. It makes a difference.
That's so interesting. So here's where I think the dilemma comes up for me, and I don't know if it's for anybody else, but because of the fact that I don't have children, right? I'm not married. I've always been, it's career. My parents are always first and then career. So I have found, and this is pre-pandemic, that when I was sweet and soft and nice, because I was typically working with men, that I would get taken advantage of because I just was naive. It was my own fault. It wasn't anyone else's fault. So then I thought, you better toughen up, girl. You better. And so then I kind of put the feminine, soft, sweet Jackie away.
But that means she's in there.
She's in here
still
somewhere.
In there and giving you permission to, well, and here that I call it the pendulum effect. This happens a lot where you're one way and then you don't get like a positive result or interaction from, and then to ward against it, you'll go all the way to the other side to protect yourself. And that's not good either. So it's kind of recalibrating and coming somewhere in between where there's just more balance, because it's not that your feminine, softer side made men take advantage of you, you're associating that. But there's probably other things that you were in the way that you were saying things and allowing things to happen that was causing some of that too. But your association is, well, feminine is being taken advantage of, where masculine, right, weak, and masculine is going to protect you and ward against that. But what I've been teaching women, and this is what we're talking about, is that, gosh, our femininity is our power. It really is. Like, and again, there's been a ton of studies on this. It's not even just something that I'm saying, but learning how to use the feminine energy and power and charisma to communicate what we want, right? So like, we can still set boundaries and be feminine at the same time. It's not either or.
I think that's something that I have to work on.
Yeah, I can help you with that. And it starts with the pink. I love the pink. Yeah. Well, and even like body movements and body language, like that's another part of messaging, right? And when we're in our masculine, we might have more tense body language. We might have more harsh movements, we get things done kind of thing. And the more we flow and dance and slow down, that also can create a different energy as well.
Yes, I agree. I think it's walking that fine line of there's so much to get accomplished. There's a window of time. And I think it's also, if I think about it, and I'm really just pouring it out here on television, is that I don't think I've ever felt safe in a relationship with men. And so I felt like the only way I could protect myself was to be somewhat masculine as the first thing that you see in my behavior, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a good awareness for yourself. It's kind of like the shield that and the armor that you put on to ward against it. So, for you, it's your journey is to understand what it would be like to take some of the armor off. Like, you don't have to strip naked, right? Like, because you need some sort of protection. You could put the sword down, right? Like, you could put the shield down and let guys in a little bit more. And because part of femininity is receiving, and when you're in productivity mode, you're producing and you're doing and you're giving, so you're not allowing the space to receive. That's a huge part of femininity.
That is very true. It's really important to me to help other people and make sure that other people get the attention they want. And I always think that, I'm so strong, I've been through this, and this. But the truth is, we all need to receive. We all, I
don't care how strong a woman you are out there. Like, and I've worked with like celebrities and like, people who are really, kind of high up there and in the public eye. And they all say to me the same thing that you just said, like, gosh, wouldn't that be nice to just be taken care of a little bit? Sometimes be cherished, be loved. We all want that fundamentally.
Yes. And I think that during this pandemic, depending on what your living situation is or, where you are in life, it could have changed dramatically for you. And so I'm sure there are other people out there feeling isolated or feeling the need to have a give and take relationship. And maybe it's just not possible at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. So that's when you have to create little opportunities for yourself, even if you are in a state of isolation because you have to be or whatever that is. And it's funny because I actually just did a podcast with somebody else, and I do these like live coaching podcasts. And this woman had similar things to you where she's a nurse and she's constantly giving and giving, but she was also attracting like takers and toxic relationships because of it, because she's just used to giving. I said, every day you got to create time and space to allow somebody to do something for you. And she just kind of paused and she's like, I don't think I've ever done that. And I'm like, I'm talking about little things like at work, at the grocery store. Like if some guy wants to help you with food off the shelf, allow that. Don't say, oh no, it's okay, I got it. Like how many times do we do that? Like, no, I got it. Just saying, why, thank you.
Yes.
I love that.
Can I tell you, I used to travel all the time when I was in my corporate role. And I can't tell you how many times a man would say, can I help you with the bag? And I'd say, no, that's why I lift weights. Thank you. Like, look at me, super strong.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like next time you're at the market, like I'm sure I have to go to the market at some point.
Every
Like
week,
just,
yes.
yeah, just like say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to the market and for a half hour, I'm just going to roam around and see like what people can give me or, maybe ask a question or, there's something that you're curious about, it's those little, or have a guy open a door for you. Don't just slam it on his face. Like it's those things. There was this woman I got a great story. So I was coaching this woman and she owned a restaurant. She was used to being in that masculine energy and doing everything. And we were sitting, I often meet people at restaurants, and this particular restaurant I didn't know served alcohol. So I'm just doing the assessment and we're eating. And this guy comes up to us and I mean, he didn't look like a waiter, but he didn't look like a stranger either. We didn't know who he was, but he just said, "Hi, ladies. How are you this evening?" And just as my client was about to say, oh, great, thanks, and just kind of shut the door, I said, well, that depends on what you mean by how we are. I think we would be a lot better if we had a margarita, just kind of playing with him, right? And my client's kind of looking at me because I had a guess that he was somebody. Well, he goes, well, we do serve alcohol here. I said, really? I said, I didn't know that. And he said, well, I'll be right back. And so my client's like, what just happened and where's he going? I said, oh, he's going to bring us a bottle of wine and comp us. Just watch. 3, 2, 1. He comes back. He brings a bottle of wine and he says, ladies, enjoy. That guy turned out to be the owner, not just the owner of that restaurant, but like the whole chain of restaurants. It's a pretty big brand. And so the point of that story is I didn't pause and allow for that little interplay, we wouldn't have received that. And that was her big takeaway. She's like, I never allow for stuff like that to happen because that never happens to me. I'm like, well, that's because you're so quick to skip over that moment.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a great story. The first thing that popped into my head was, I'm the woman with you, right? And I think to myself, okay, what does this guy want? Now he's going to take away from my time with you. And now he's going to be distracted with him. And so, yeah, I probably would have just shut it down too.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you've been hurt before and you're trying to ward against something happening and you're not feeling safe or trustworthy of situations and people, you might close down opportunities that would be amazing for you, because you're fearful, right? Like you're scared of that. So again, it's just choosing those little moments and just getting more comfortable around that till you're able to open yourself up in bigger ways.
Yes. And I think also, to your point about when you're hurt or you don't feel safe, that when you put that wall up, right, when you close the door and lock it and throw the key away, then it's so easy not to have to feel because you've taken all those feelings and you've thrown them aside. And on the other side, I have girlfriends who, they've always been on a mission. I have to find a man. I have to find a man. Like some of them, 2 of them actually would just sit at a bar, rotating, people coming in and be like interviewing them. And both of them got married, by the way. So I think it's interesting how, and I'm sure that it's good to be in the middle somewhere, but yeah. But I think also when you do throw away the key and keep the wall up, you can get a lot of stuff done that you might not be able to get done otherwise. Because when you let time in for relationships, that's going to detract from other things. And I think to myself, more true confessions, especially somebody I dated for a long time who a business owner, and he would say to me all the time, I don't have time for this emotional stuff. I have to get this done. I have to get that done. And I can understand that now, because if your emotions are right there for the world to see, then you're probably not going to be as productive in the professional aspect of your life. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something to be said about that. And I think you have to be honest with where you're at with things. Because, yeah, to your point, if you're building a business or you're really in this kind of stress state, no, I mean, it's not good for you to, focus, nor will you be present on dates because you're just going to be distracted with other things. But the rabbit hole is when you let things go on too long, right? Like you get to the point where you get so comfortable being busy that not being busy becomes fearful. and scary. It's like, oh, well, I know how to do this. I know how to stay in the busyness. What will I do if I'm not busy? Like, am I going to open myself up for, that fear of being hurt or whatever it is? So you know what I tell people, and this is why it's easy to just get lost in it when you don't put a timetable on it. It's like you should do a self-assessment and self-check on all this like every 2-3 months. Because if you go beyond that, then the more time that passes, the harder it is to get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you don't even have to think of it. And you and I have talked about this too. You don't even have to think of it like true dating. Maybe you're not ready to like go on a bunch of dates, but gosh, it'd be nice to just meet a couple guys and practice flirting and just like opening yourself up again to those possibilities. And I always say, just start small. You could go online and have a bunch of conversations and not get attached to anything right now, but that would be kind of fun.
You know what else would be fun is meeting you in New York. Tell us all those details again.
I know. And by the way, if you have any friends, I know you mentioned you had friends. If any of your friends want to come out, that would be fun. I would love to meet them. Yeah, so September 8th, I'm going to have a small gathering. It's going to be definitely like small group of women. And it's from 5 to 7 on September 8th. Location to be determined and continue. It depends on how many people. But my hope is to give you really good value on understanding some good wing gal tips around flirting, especially post-pandemic, like how we can navigate the world and each other. So it could be some body language tricks, communication tricks, flirt techniques, but you'll also have a chance to do some Q&A and laser coaching with me. So I hope some of you take advantage who are out there. Oh, just go to askkimmy.com too if you're interested. That'd be the best way of getting a hold of me, and I can get you the information.
Well, thank you. You read my mind about that. All right. Well, our guest wasn't able to make it today, but Kimmy, once again, we had another, I think, really fruitful conversation. And I feel like I just got a coaching session. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And we'll look forward
to your vulnerability. And because I think everyone can relate, honestly, for what you're saying. We all have struggled in some way, shape, or form, especially as women.
Yes, and I think it's I'm quite happy to just put it out there, what I go through and how I feel, because if not me, then who, right?
Yeah, exactly. And sharing will help people feel not so alone too. So I so appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Kimmy. It's a pleasure having you here today. Kimmy and I are wrapping it up. We will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.